At the end of your life, what will be your legacy? What will you leave behind for future generations? For the world, join the World Messenger, Izabela Lundberg, each week as she brings you a new distinguished guest from the business, sports, or entertainment world to share their success, their struggles, and their lessons. They will share their insights into current hot topics that affect everyone. Izabela facilitates an intimate, vulnerable environment to find the true value of humanity and real leadership. Are you ready for your legacy? The legacy that matters?
Are you ready to hear from one of the luckiest guys alive? One of the luckiest guys in the world, and his absolutely insane story. Hello, my beautiful friends. It's Izabela over here at the World Messenger, and I'm inviting you for another epic episode of Legacy Leader Show. And today, guest will totally blow your mind. Buckle up, champions, because we're taking off. Imagine having a dialogue here right now and hearing firsthand from two-time Olympic champion who has competed in 2 Winter Olympics, former ski jumper, someone who broke the fear way before I'm assuming most of us ever could possibly imagine and believe, and continue to do the same. Today, he is lucky because he's recipient of 2 organs that kept him obviously alive and preserve his quality of life. And so much more in between in this story. So I cannot wait to introduce you to today's guest, Raymond Randy Weber. Randy, Raymond, welcome.
Thank you very much. Good to be back with you.
Thank you so much for joining us here on the Legacy Leader Show. I'm just really, really excited, Randy, to have you here with us because your story is sprinkled with so much miracle, and what a best time to share the story is during this amazing holiday season. So before we go into this second part that I just mentioned, let's go back into the first. Everybody's dream when they're a kid, when they're young, it's to be either athlete and of course to be Olympian. So you fulfilled those 2 major dreams that most children dream of. How did you do it, and how did you even start competing and getting into ski jumping?
I was very fortunate to have grown up in Steamboat Springs, Colorado, which has the moniker Ski Town, USA. Had some very understanding parents when I first said that I wanted to try that thing over there on Howelson Hill where the ski jumps were. My older brother and I went over there and had the time of our lives. I believe we were 5 and 7, 6 and 8. Yeah, he's a couple of years older than I am, and just absolutely loved it. And I think my parents had hoped that I would grow out of it or move on to something before I got to the really big ski jumps. But they didn't know that the really big ski jumps were actually my goal. So just kept after it. All of my friends were doing it. It was just the best way to grow up, and with a little bit of luck and some hard work, I was fortunate enough to make it to the top level of the sport.
And first of all, for everybody that's not familiar with Steamboat Spring, Colorado, it's absolutely an amazing way in nature, environment, snow conditions, all of that to grow up and to experiment with. But what's so beautiful is also that you started so early and being so fearless, because when we look at about the height, the speed, and performance that it's required, I feel like looks amazing on the screen, but when you really stare at a jumping area, it's really scary. How did you deal with any of the fear that you may have in order to do that?
A little bit of fear in sport, I think, is healthy. I think when people become fearless, dangerous things happen. So it's like any sport that requires, a level of high performance activity and reactivity. It's a skill that you develop over time. You don't just start out on the big jumps. They start you small. You get used to the speed. You build muscle memory and reaction, and it's a very specific sport. It requires power, speed, reaction. You really have to be in tune with what your body is doing. I mean, if you're going to launch yourself at 55 or 60 miles an hour into the open air with 2.5, 3 meter long skis attached to your feet, you need to be in tune with your body or bad things happen. And you just start small and you work your way up, and with coaching and development of skill, you can move up to the bigger jumps. And it's like anything in life. I think bigger, better, faster is more fun. And it's an absolutely incredible experience to fly through the air, and it becomes almost addictive. You think about it, you dream about it, you work at it. It's just, I've done lots of crazy things in my life. Driven race cars, jumped out of airplanes, cliff diving, all kinds of crazy things. But ski jumping, the feeling, the silence of it, I haven't found its match yet.
Thank you for describing that, because that was really what I wanted to know, what goes in your mind when you were preparing, when you slide, and then when you launch in the air. Of course, you want to get as high and as long as you can. And those moments for us, the watching, kind of go very fast, but then it's like this grace and just the finesse. How is all that done? I'm just curious, as you mentioned, that it's nothing that you already tried competes or compares to that. What usually happens in mental toughness or mental strength that really helps you to stay grounded in the air?
There's a fair amount of repetitive training that goes on. For me, and I think for most athletes, the goal is to train your body and train your mind so that in the moment it's as automatic as it can be. As I said before, the silence of it is probably the most shocking thing when I tell people, because you're on snow or ice, you're traveling at a high rate of speed. If anybody's rolled the window down in their car and stuck their hand out at highway speed, you know what that feels like, and you feel the pressure. And when you move your hand up and down, whether you want it to or not, it goes a certain direction. So muscle memory and just being in a frame of mind where it becomes automatic is the goal. That's not to say that when things go wrong, you just let it happen. You have to react to that. If the wind is bad or you make a mistake, again, if you're rolling your hand up and down like this out the car window, and you tip your hand over a little too much, it snaps back.
Yes,
that can happen to your body when you're flying through the air. So it's peaceful. You may be in a stadium, sitting on top of a ramp that's a couple 100 meters above everybody else, and there might be, in the case of the Olympic Games, 50,000 plus people, live watching that. And you have to make it a peaceful thing. You have to be calm. You have to be ready. It only lasts, 8-9 seconds from start to finish. But you try to train your brain and your body to do what it is you want to do for those 8 or 9 seconds.
Oh, wow, that's amazing. So for those 89 seconds that made history, right? To be so, sometimes the millisecond, the difference when you're competing, that places you and qualifies you for all these amazing tournaments, but ultimately to the most pivotal ones, which is Olympic Games. So do you mind sharing, how was the feeling when you knew that you got qualified for Olympics and you're going to be competing in the Winter Olympics in 1994?
So I qualified during a World Cup tournament that was in Italy. It was just before Christmas. It was actually in December of '93. The competition was at night. It was under the lights. It was in a high mountain town. It felt home to me because that's how Steamboat is. We jumped a lot as kids under the lights. And I'd always enjoyed the facilities there in Predazzo, and I qualified, and it was exciting, and it relieved so much stress for me to be able to pick up the phone. And with the time change, both of my parents were still at work in Steamboat. My father was a middle school science teacher, and my mom worked for the county in the Department of Social Services. And I've never been so happy to pay for an international phone call in my life. I called my father and asked the secretary at the school to pull him out of class, which I knew would scare him because, when your son calls from Europe and asks for you to be pulled out of class, most people think, oh no, something went wrong. Is he hurt? And I got to tell him that they needed to get some plane tickets and pack their bags because we the family were all going to Norway. I was 16 at the time, so I was missing high school, and my life was kind of crazy. And just to put the stress of am I going to make the team behind me was really, really good for me. I was able to then start to prepare. Same thing with my mom. I called her at work again, mothers being concerned about their sons all the time. Oh my God, are you okay? And I said, yeah, Mom, things are great. Same thing, get a plane ticket, pack your bags. We're all going. My older brother happened to be living abroad at the time. He was doing a year abroad in Japan. And I didn't have his number, but my parents were able to call him. And so we kind of had a mini family reunion in February at the Olympic Games. And it was incredible. The other, cool thing is having grown up in Steamboat, where we produce a lot of Olympians, some of my friends, one of my friends, specifically a kid named Todd Lodwick, also in high school with me. He was doing very well on the Nordic combined side. So I got to go to the Olympic Games with my friends, my childhood friends. And I don't think I was prepared for the emotion that came when you walk into that opening ceremonies, which happened to be in the ski jumping stadium, which made it even cooler for me. And I'm walking in with my friends, and we're on the world stage. We've achieved something we've tried for. Dreams we had as children. Todd and I worked out together. We trained together. We fought together. We had heated battles over the next 6 years. But to go with your family, to go with your friends, it's incredible.
Thank you for describing that, because it's just so great to hear the story behind it, right? Because a lot of times we see these amazing athletes competing, but sacrifice, and also the joy and ups and downs and roller coaster ride that you guys are on very rarely gets shared. And it's just so wonderful, as you said, to have all those athletes with you, your friends that practice that you grew up with. You get a chance to share the stage or compete in different sports and then just have fun. And then obviously that led you also to the 1998 Winter Olympics Games. And I'm curious, when you look back on that, obviously this going for a second time and just feeling that you were so good, that you again could be there. What did you learn? How was that pivotal shift in your life after you stopped obviously competing?
So I did retire after the 98 season. Little bit of an unexpected decision for me even. Um, and I had to change my environment completely. I spent that summer working. We built a house in Steamboat for my mom. I put all my money in the bank, and another friend of mine came to me and said, "Hey, my girlfriend's doing a semester abroad in Australia. My little brother's down there too. I'm gonna go. You want to come?" And I thought, you know what? The best thing for me when the snow starts to fall is to not be here, because I knew I would be pulled back. I knew I would want to start ski jumping again.
Mm.
And I took that opportunity and I went to Australia for 4 months in what was our fall of 98 and the spring down there. And I kind of saw that as the pivot point in my life where I was done being an athlete and I didn't really know what I was going to do next. But I saw that as the way to transition, change my environment completely and kind of reset. Um, so that's what I did. And then I ended up meeting my first wife and falling in love and moving to Denver, and we have our son together who has turned into the most amazing human being. I'm more proud of my son and the man he's become and the things he's doing, um, than anything else. I think most parents would say that. Your child, though not perfect, is your legacy for most people. And turns out my son has moved to Australia in his early 20s, much like his father tried to do. And just absolutely wonderful kid. He's an athlete. Um, he has a love for life and adventure. And as a parent, you want to see that. You want to see your child, grow and excel and pursue their dreams. And my dreams required me to travel, and my son's dream has required him to travel and move. And I miss him, but I'm extremely excited and a little bit jealous of him.
He gets to do all the fun stuff now when we need to kind of be more adulting, right? And do other things
Yes.
and change our priorities. But that's fantastic also to see how you influence him and having a father Olympian and being also into athletics, into sports, how that shapes and also brings future generations to think about sports and also learn from, which is amazing. But then,
Yeah, I think sport and travel, be it together or separate, I think they really shape people.
yeah,
Um, and I think you learn so much from traveling, and you learn so much by participating, in a sport or being a ballet dancer or wishing to excel in music, something to give you drive. Um, and if my son wanted to be a pianist or a ballet dancer, I would have supported him wholeheartedly in the same. I wanted him to grow and experience life.
Mm, that's amazing. And it's such a beautiful gift because a lot of times parents have a different expectations most of the time when they want kids to have stability or to go a certain path that is the norm or society dictating. And when you go and trailblaze like yourself in a less traveled journeys with very different mindset, it's amazing how much of amazing things can happen as well. With that in mind, obviously, a lot of things shifted later on in your life. And today, when we look back on one pivotal moment in your life, from an athlete who was healthy and had a great lifestyle, things shifted in a split of second for you. Do you mind sharing what happened and how do you end up to be in a situation where you really had to completely rethink your life?
Yeah, the day was March 31st, 2006. And I had been told that I had a rare disease called HSP vasculitis. And I was actually initially diagnosed by my dermatologist. And April 2nd, which was a Saturday, 2016, I was in the emergency room and I found out that I had HSP for sure. And that was a tough battle. Basically, I had to have my immune system completely wiped out with steroids and then slowly rebuild itself over about a 10-month period. And during all of that, one of the things I was told was, one of the long-term effects of this disease is it can harm your kidneys. And, I changed my lifestyle, changed my diet, started, taking better care of myself and really trying to stave off any long-term effects. And I thought I was fine for years. I was working every day, no problem. And then I started, in 2020, late 2020, I started, having swelling in my legs and headaches and, just generally wasn't feeling good. And it was the middle of COVID. Didn't want to go to a doctor. Definitely didn't want to go to a hospital. Chalked it up to, 40 something now. I'm just getting old and slow. Well, eventually I went and saw my doctor, and the blood test revealed that I was in kidney failure, and I was immediately put the last place I wanted to be, the hospital. I was shortly there diagnosed with, like I said, kidney failure, and I was told that medication and diet and things of that nature probably wouldn't help me. I needed a kidney transplant. That was the one way and the only way I was going to be able to save my own life. So I went and went through all the procedures and the testing to make sure I was healthy enough to receive a transplant and make sure the rest of my body was gonna work with the potential new organ. And through that, I got a second gut punch. Was they discovered I had portal hypertension in my liver, and now I needed two organs, not one. So that was kind of an uh-oh moment. And I realized that I could probably find a kidney, but now I needed a liver too. And I knew the only way I was going to survive was to be proactive and find my own donors. And I just started asking everybody I know, hey, can I have part of your liver? Can I have your spare kidney? And, when you start a conversation like that, you have their attention. And then you can explain why versus the other way around of telling your story and then going, oh, so by the way, I need a kidney and a liver. You start there. At least that worked for me. And had lots and lots of people, offered to take the first step, which is a simple blood test to find out if their blood type and my type match. Most of the time, that's not the case, and people move on. And but I was lucky. My brother had the same blood type as I did, and my younger brother also got tested. He did not, so lucky him. He doesn't have to go through surgery. And my friend Kelly, who happened to be the wife of my son's high school wrestling team. He's the coach and she's his wife, and I knew them from wrestling and all the years with my son. And she initially went in to see if she could be a kidney donor, and they approached her about possibly being a liver donor, and she didn't even know that she could donate a portion of her liver. And so they talked her through the procedure, and she was a match. And so I was diagnosed in February of 2021 of needing a double organ transplant. And a year later, in February of 2022, February 23rd, I was wheeled into the operating room alongside Kelly, and my brother was patiently waiting, and he got wheeled in the afternoon, and I got Kelly's liver in the morning, and my brother's liver in the afternoon, or my brother's kidney in the afternoon. Kelly's liver in the morning, my brother's kidney in the afternoon.
Wow, what a story and what a crazy journey. So the need for two organs happened in the possibly worst time, as they say, obviously COVID and so much restriction. And you found not only way, but will and desire to keep at it and to take destiny in your own hands to make that happen. First of all, I don't know, I'm like, I commend you for your strength, for your resilience, and for your sense of clarity, where you need to be and what you need to do to make
I'm
that
just
happen.
stubborn. Yeah, I'm just stubborn. I mean, present me with a problem, and I'm going to do everything in my power to solve it. You know, never more motivated than when it's your own life you're trying to save. Um, you know, and the thing that has been the most humbling is the willingness of others to help. You know, my brother, I love him. He's best friends to me. I mean, my whole family, we're very, very close. Our younger brother, anything ever happened to our younger brother, you know, brothers being brothers, we'd handle it. My brother didn't have to do this, you know, nobody does. But what I found was, you know, people are looking for that moment, that thing that they can do in life to live, you know, and give and have a legacy. And their willingness to literally share a part of themselves to save me,
Yeah.
you know, that's why I claim to be the luckiest guy alive. It's got nothing to do with, you know, the success I had as an athlete, you know, the travel and the experience that I had as a kid. You know, very lucky to have had that, but to have two people and their families and their support group and the community give of themselves that way, that is why I'm the luckiest guy alive, because without them I wouldn't be alive. You know, I think organ donation, especially living organ donation, is it's it's the greatest gift you can give. And you get to be around to see it. You know, I get to spend time with my brother. I get to spend time with Kelly. You know, we don't have any women in the Weber family. We haven't made, there hasn't been a female member of the Weber family since before World War II. You know, I'm the middle of three boys. I have a son. My older brother has a son. My younger brother, you know, his fiance has a wonderful little boy. I mean, we can't even recruit a girl to join our family. But we got Kelly now. And Kelly, I mean, Kelly fits right in. You know, we're a pretty fun loving, rough housing, pick on each other kind of crew. And, you know, who better to have joined that family than, a strong, beautiful woman, Marine. She's just tough as nails, and we love her to death, and she fits right in.
What a powerful story, Randy. And when I listen to you, obviously takes a special person, takes a special leader, takes a special character for someone also to not only build such a beautiful relationship, but to have a people corral behind you and wanted to help, because we see so many people in need, but also what kind of person that person is, right? And obviously when it's need, we shouldn't be seeking to justify who do we give, who do we help, who we support, but also definitely makes huge difference when we know that someone is truly an exceptional human. And as a result, it's so easy. It's easy to give. It's easy to support. It's easy to learn and discover. But also, I'm sure your Olympic spirits and everything you experience as athletes, beside being stubborn, I'm sure contributed significantly with that mindset. So for everybody watching and listening, how did you cope, first of all, with this news? And beside taking things in your own hands, what was the way for you? How did you control like all this? Because it's so easy to creep into negativity too, right? Oh my God, how many days, how fast this needs to happen, how I should do this, right? Sometimes we orchestrate all these different things, and sometimes we play in our own head with so much. How did you stay again very grounded and also able to handle things which appears in so many ways flawlessly?
So as an athlete, especially in an individual sport, you are in control. You control how much you train, how hard you work, how well you prepare, your diet, your environment is yours to control as an athlete. This was the exact opposite. I had no control. The body that I had relied on and used and exploited was failing me. And that was hard to understand. I think whether you're an athlete or not, when your body fails you, that's really, hard to take. And believe it or not, I learned for the first time in my life to let go and accept the fact that I didn't have control of the situation. I could control me and making sure I stayed healthy and could have the surgery. I could control how many people I asked and how I spread the word of my need, and I could put myself out there, which for a former athlete wasn't that hard. But for some people, that's the biggest hurdle is, oh my God, how do I tell the world I need help? So those were the only things that I could control: how I took care of my body and how many people I went and asked. I couldn't control who was a match. I couldn't control whether or not they were willing to be a donor. I couldn't control the time frame. I, we were able to plan for my surgery because I had living donors. But when I found out in November, I was like, hey, let's go. And I didn't have my surgery until February of 2022. So I had to learn how to let go and only focus on the things I could control, and let other professionals, doctors, the medical staff, the hospital, the care team for Kelly and Joel, I had to let them do their job and just wait. So I learned patience very late in life. And I think for someone who is so self-driven and self-motivated and, want to be in control of their environment, whether it's as an athlete or as a business owner, which I was, a parent, to finally go, okay, I can only control me, and I'm going to rely on others to help me. And I think that was a good experience for me to have. I'm not really thrilled about the vehicle that delivered that experience to me, but you know, I think that was the biggest lesson for me. And once I was, in recovery and I'd had the transplants and things weren't going well, again, I had to remember that I could only control me and take the medication and do whatever the doctors told me to do, and let it work through. And at one point I was like, why did I do this? I was existing before. I could still go to work every day. I wasn't in great shape, but there was a period after the surgery when things weren't going well where I was like, man, this is way, way more difficult than I thought it would be. And again, I had to remind myself that I'm not in control of this situation. I just have to do what I'm told, and let my body heal, and then it will serve me. And I'm not yet 2 years away from my transplants, and I feel better than I have in 10, 15 years. So learning the lesson of giving up control for me was the most difficult but the most valuable.
Such a powerful, again, sharing lessons in life that we a lot of times, and I love what you said, it's not about control, about learning patience, surrender to situation and let it go, and do only things you have control over to increase odds, right, for success, and then to have that positive mindset. And I know February will be your second year since transplant occurred. I'm curious, how are you feeling, for everybody watching and listening? I mean, and how is your brother? How is Kelly? Those amazing, beautiful human beings that stepped in and made such a tremendous impact and difference.
So my brother, my kidney donor, he's a school teacher, and I think he was out for about 10 days. He did have to battle gout for a couple of days. Two reasons. One, he probably shouldn't have had a double bacon cheeseburger with fries and everything the night before surgery, because it was a shock for his system to be down a filter. That's what your kidney is. He was down a filter immediately, and it caused him to get gout. But a couple of days of medication, no problem. Yeah, he was back to work. He has to be on a very mild dose of blood pressure medication, because he only has one kidney. But he's great. I mean, coaches football, is around youth. He's a wonderful teacher. He's one of those guys you just want in your life. And he's fine. I mean, I see him 2-3 times a week if I can, and he's great. And he loves to tell the story, and he's got this ridiculous tattoo now that says vacancy on his side, which was my thank you gift for his life-saving gift to me. He shows it off to all the kids. It's a great conversation starter. He's very much an advocate for living organ donation. The fact that he's spreading that word to young people in the classroom, just telling his story, I think is wonderful. Kelly, she's doing great. She was down for about 90 to 100 days was her recovery time. It's pretty painful to have your innards sliced and spread, and 60% of your liver removed. But the liver is the one organ that will regenerate. So in about 3 months, she had a full-sized liver again. The piece they put in me, 90, 100 days later, was a full-sized, fully functioning kidney liver. So she was back to work, I would say, within 3-4 months. And yeah, she's great. Neither of them have to take any anti-rejection medication. Kelly doesn't have to take any medication at all. I would say, if I'm bold enough to speak for them, that their lives haven't changed in any way but for the better because of their donation. Me. So before surgery, they come in and they give you this list of complications. This could happen, but the chances are 2%. This could happen, but the chances are 0.5%. And you go through it and you're like, yeah, this is a risky thing. Things could go wrong. It's a risk I'm willing to accept, but we're going to hope that list is small or non-existent. that became more of a checklist for me. If it was on the list of complications, I was fortunate enough to go through that. I had to have a drain in my liver because my bile ducts collapsed and weren't working. So I had to have a tube, in my side going through my liver and into my intestines for about 9 months after surgery. I have these huge scars. One goes from the middle of my chest all the way around the right side of my rib cage, and then they actually transplant your kidney goes into your abdomen down kind of in your pelvis area. So I have another incision about 8 inches long, right below my waistline. Recovery was rough. Kidney didn't fire up very well, collapsed bile ducts, you know, lots of concern, lots of trips to and from the hospital. But once my organs started to work, and once we had a solution to the bile duct collapse, and we went in and they surgically fixed that for me, my trajectory has only been on an upward path. And it happened pretty quickly. Like, surgery in February, most of the summer until, spring and summer until about July in the hospital. And then, October, November, December, and it keeps going up. I mean, I have little hiccups here and there. But it's, I'm in life 2.0. I've literally been rebuilt from the inside. um I just I feel young. I don't look young, but I feel young. My body works. I can be active. I work too much, according to my wife. But I'm able to do so much more because people were willing to give of themselves and donate their organs and save my life.
That is, again, amazing. I'm glad that all those little hiccups or things that were in the beginning difficult and challenging post-surgery are now being taken care of, and that you are having quality of life back, as well opportunity to be obviously supporting others and active member in community. But also for everybody watching and listening, if you don't mind just sharing it, and as a live organ donor, what would be the message for people that are waiting for organ donation? And then also for the ones that are on the fence, like wanted to possibly consider being one, what would you suggest and recommend for both sides of the coin that you've been actually seen and experienced so much in the recent few years?
So for someone who's in my position, you need a life-saving transplant. You're in that moment of panic. You just have to ask. You just have to put out the word that you have the need. You will be shocked at the reaction you get. People want to help. If you don't know how, there are organizations that can help you. I work here locally in Colorado with a nonprofit called the American Transplant Foundation. They help donors and those who need a transplant find each other. They offer counseling services. They have a list of people who are willing to be donors. They know how to help you, promote your need for a transplant. With social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all these other platforms that are out there, you can spread the word so quickly. And you've got to save your own life. If you are waiting to receive an organ from your place on the list, you're in for a long, hard wait. You just got to start asking. Um, no one's going to get mad at you. No one's going to say, how the heck did this happen? You just have to let the world know you need help. And sometimes that is the hardest thing to do, is to put yourself out there and say, I need help. Nobody likes to say, I need help. But no one is going to reach out with anything other than compassion and their want to help. So if you need a transplant, get a hold of everyone you know and ask them to take a blood test. I mean, it's truly that simple to start. Tell them that they don't have to worry about the medical costs, because your insurance, as the person in need of the transplant, your insurance pays for everything any donor would need. My insurance covered every cost for Joel and Kelly, all of the testing, the surgery itself, their care afterwards, access to the resources that the transplant center has. You will find people who are willing to help you. Now, on the other side, people who want to be a donor, it is the lasting legacy that you can leave, and it is an awesome thing. Being a donor is, I mean, I get a little choked up because those who are willing to give literally save lives. I mean, it's that simple. It's a blood test, and if you're a match, then it's some other testing. You will get the $1 million workup. You will learn everything about your body you ever wanted to know, and you don't have to pay for it. And if you wish, you have the opportunity to save someone's life. You don't necessarily have to have someone in mind. You can sign up, to be on the list of people who are willing, and they record your name, your contact info, your blood type, and where you live. And they may say, out of the blue someday, hey, Izabela, we see that you're on the list of people who are willing to be a donor. We have someone who's in need. Would you be willing to go through the testing to find out if you're a match for them? And if you're already on that list of people who have said, I'm willing to be a donor, that's the phone call you're waiting for. That is your opportunity to change and save the life of somebody else, and instantly have a legacy of honor and giving and love to leave behind. And you get to be around to enjoy it. I mean, that to me is the coolest thing. Deceased organ donation is the ultimate gift that people's families can leave behind for their loved one who tragically, is not going to live. And those people they're angels. They're truly amazing, people and their families. But I think the hardest part is they don't get to experience the love and the joy in the same way that living organ donors do.
Such a powerful distinction, but also such a powerful message here. Randy, thank you for sharing your story and telling us how your life journey got you to today, where you also are now advocate for others. Like, we know some colleagues and friends that are going through similar situation, and how you're trying to support from both sides, the ones who are considering being living donors and the ones that are in need, to provide the hope. And thank you for shedding some light specifically again as we are going into holiday season and giving and also supporting in one another. I just want to say your legacy is being carved already through Olympics and so much that you already did prior, but with everything that you're doing right now, I just want to ask you in this chapter, how would you like to be remembered, known for in the closing, so that everybody can really hear what is now a motivation and drive for your legacy at this chapter in your life?
I want to have my legacy be one of a person who, through great fortune, um, was able to make a difference. And the calling I have and the difference that I want to make is I don't want anyone who needs an organ transplant to die waiting. That is unacceptable to me. And the solution is right in front of us. Living organ donation, the ability to save the life of someone else, be it a friend, a family member, or a complete stranger, is the answer. I mean, I've teamed up with some folks, the American Transplant Foundation. Through my journey, I've hooked up with a gentleman named Mark McIntosh. He needs a kidney transplant, and he has an organization called Drive for Five. And the goal of that organization is initially to find 5,000 living organ donors, and get those people through and signed up and ready to save the life of someone they know. But Mark and I, 5,000 is that's the low water mark. We want this message and get everyone to know that you can be a living organ donor. Hundreds of thousands of people are on the list. Tens of thousands of people die on the list waiting. And when there's a solution right in front of us, it is unacceptable to me that people die. It's totally unnecessary. The resources are there. The medical expertise and the relative ease of organ donation. It just it I can't stand it, to be honest. I really, really want my legacy to be, Randy was part of a team, and they made sure to put an end to people waiting for an organ.
Thank you for listening to Legacy Leader Show. If you enjoyed the content and had a positive experience, then please leave us a positive rating. In addition, leave us a positive review whenever you are listening on whatever platform there might be. Make sure your friends and family also know about the benefit and value that we provide and what we have to offer. Cheers.